and welcome to today's news on Vanguard Live. My name is Damilola Okunshakin. Let's go straight to the front pages of the dailies. I'm starting with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with Plateau attacks. Group slams COAS on why Nigerians can't bear arms. NBF Afenifere JNI Pandef kick. Nigerians should be allowed arms to defend themselves, as according to NBF, says embargo amounts to conspiracy against the people. And since it's time Nigerians are given access to higher grades of arms, Nigerians have right to defend themselves, that's according to Afenifere. People can defend themselves, but why government fails to defend them? That's according to Pandef. If the army can't defend people, should they allow themselves killed? That's according to JNI. Allow Nigerians to bear firearms. Recipe for disaster. That's according to the Christian Association of Nigeria. You can see that story on page 5 of Vanguard. And on page 12, 3050 MW, Emir asks Tinubu to wade into Bambila power disputes. Nigeria too important to be left in hands of transactional politicians. That's according to Peter Obi. You can see that on page 11 and on page 6. 2024, APC mom as PDP Labour Party dismissed Tinubu's address as hollow. On page 27, the truth about Biafra and its so-called indigenous people. That's according to a reader's right to respond. And that's all on Vanguard. Now, away from there, we move to the Punch newspaper. Punch is leading with Tinubu's New Year broadcast. APC defends federal government as Labour warns against failed promises. PDP tags speech harvest of deceit. NLC TUC says the Nigerians tired of failed promises. APC lampoons PDP. Labour Party urges Nigerians to disregard mischievous oppositions. You can see that on page 2 stories below. Hoodlums kill Lagos police officer in Adamawa. Lagos to begin Lekki Airport 2024. That's according to Commissioner. Stories above the banner. Christmas Eve massacre, not a farmer elder conflict. Governor insists. And lastly, on the Punch newspaper, federal government insists on electricity subsidy amid tariff review. You can see that on page 28. Now the Guardian newspaper. Guardian is leading with deficit execution concern over expanded 28.8 trillion naira budget. You can see that on page 26. And on page 15, federal government not committed to agreement with Labour NLC claims. Nigerian startups borrow $415 million in 10 years as equity funding falters. You can see that on page 15. Fubara vows to retain Rivers governorship mandate. Monarch writes Tinubu over 3,050 MW Mambila hydropower disputes. And lastly, on the Guardian newspaper, we have PDP, all that fault up in Tinubu's pledges, demand concrete actions against hardship. You can see that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies this morning. Join us after the break as our guests to be analyzing these stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damilola Okunshakin. Joining us to analyze the front pages of the dailies this morning is Mr. Dayo Akintobi. He's the publisher of Illipeji Today, Lekki Today, and Ikeja GRA Today. Good morning, Mr. Dayo.
Good morning, Damilola. Happy New Year to you, to all our viewers, and to all of Nigeria. And may 2024 be a much better year for all of us than the year that just passed.
Yes, amen. All right, talking about 2024, what do you have to say about the president's speech to Nigerians?
Well, it was interesting. First of all, it showed that he understands what the average Nigerian is going through. He alluded to the fact that his government had to make some difficult decisions, and he recognized the fact that those decisions have impacted negatively on our well-being in the short term. But he continued to try to encourage us and motivate us to make us believe, to make us hope that things will improve, especially starting in this new year. So it was a mixed bag, really. There's been some adulation and some criticism, as you would expect. People are on both sides of the fence. So in some quarters it was well received, in other quarters it wasn't so well received. There were issues about the fact that he should have commiserated with the nation about the Plateau incident. He made no mention of that. There were some concerns that he spoke in generalities. He didn't give any specifics. What are some of the policy initiatives that you are planning to implement to ease the suffering of the people? He spoke in broad terms that made some analysts say this was more of a motivational speech than a policy type direction, which at the beginning of the new year, people want something concrete to hold on to that gives us greater hope. Things are not very easy for Nigerians at this point in time, especially with security, with the economy, inflation, cash shortages. The refineries didn't come online when they were supposed to have come online. We were promised that Port Harcourt and Dangote would begin providing refined fuel late 2023. That didn't happen, and people have been looking forward to that as a hope that it would reduce the cost of fuel, which will have a knock-on effect on so many other things. That didn't happen. So there's an absence of hope. There's despair in the land, and the speech sought to address that and try to encourage people to believe, to not lose faith, to not lose hope. And if we were to pass the speech and go into the technicalities of what was said and what was not said, there was something in it for all Nigerians, and at the same time, there was a lot that was lacking in it as well.
All right, you spoke about the Plateau killing, so I would like you to talk about this. Recently, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Lawaya, said that Nigerians cannot be allowed to bear arms to defend themselves in the face of attacks by people. Now, Middle Belt Forum, Yoruba Social Political Organization, and some other groups, they've actually come against what he said. What do you think about the Plateau killings in general, and what the general also said?
Well, of course, there's a clamor now for self-protection and for self-action to protect ourselves, because it seems the security architecture has proven incapable of protecting lives and property of Nigerians. You look at what happened in Plateau: over 100 people massacred, slaughtered on Christmas Eve, and you wonder what leads to this kind of thing in terms of a failure of intelligence. How is it possible that such an attack went on for so long and there was no response from the military, despite the fact that there are military bases, there are police formations, there's all kinds of security apparatus and personnel within the larger area, and yet these bandits, terrorists, whatever you call them, were able to operate freely and with impunity and went ahead and held sway. And I understand that even in some areas of Plateau State, that the terrorists are actually in control, that they have control of so many villages and local governments that so all of a sudden the issue now is, if government can't protect us, maybe we should start trying to protect ourselves. But the Constitution does not grant us individually the right to bear arms. Unlike in the United States of America, where the Fifth Amendment guarantees the right to every citizen to bear arms, and we can see the outcome of that. You see shootings every day, you see mass killings every day. So there is still an ongoing debate about the propriety of individual citizens' right, whether they should have a right to bear arms or whether it is too risky. But the point is, in Nigeria of today, individuals do not have a constitutional or legal right to bear arms. Only the armed forces. I will even tell you that even vigilante forces like Amatekwe, Bubragu, and all of them don't really even have the right to bear arms. They have to be given a special dispensation, perhaps because of insecurity. An exception has to be made in certain cases to where they might be allowed to bear arms for certain operations. But by and large, as a policy or as a constitutional dictate, they are not permitted to bear arms, let alone now individuals. Why is this? It's because arms are such a dangerous mechanism if not handled properly. It requires a lot of training, requires the right temperament. I mean, you don't want a volatile person who maybe just in traffic, maybe a dancer cuts him off and he has a rifle in his boot, what stops him from. I mean, you see how tempers are really frayed in this society to where little things trigger us. You cannot imagine if each of us has a gun and our tempers are on edge. So I'm not sure it is the appropriate thing to do for individuals to bear arms, but perhaps what we can do is that our regional forces. Maybe this is a grounds to consider state police, maybe regional police, maybe even vigilante groups. Perhaps we can restructure our laws in such a way that those people are given the right to bear arms because they can be trained. They can have psychological evaluations to know who should and who shouldn't, because some people absolutely in this world shouldn't carry a gun. They should not be allowed to, because they will shoot to kill anybody that so much as looks at them the wrong way. So there have to be things like psychological evaluations to ensure that this person is stable, because you see, a gun, the difference between life and death is just a pull of a trigger, and it shouldn't be in the hands of irresponsible people. So it has to be a screening methodology, which is easier to do in a group, in an organized association, in an organized entity, such as maybe the Civil Defense Corps, maybe like Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Corps, maybe, Amotekun, maybe those, because they can be trained, they can be evaluated, they can be monitored, they can be regulated, to where, like the police, for example, now, each officer that you see on the road has a gun, he had to sign for each bullet. If he has 10 bullets, he had to sign that he collected 10 bullets. And when the shift is over and he goes back, he has to surrender the 10, and if it's not complete, he has to account for the bullets he shot, the bullets he expended. He has to account for them. So that kind of oversight and regulation limits abuse. Of course, let's not start talking about accidental discharge and all those other things that are not supposed to happen. Yes. But by and large, the way it is structured, there's accountability for firearms usage. There's accountability and oversight. We won't have that if it's in the hands of individuals. So what the chief of army staff, what he was trying to say, the chief of defense staff, what he was trying to say is that allowing individuals to bear arms is not the solution. In fact, it might worsen the solution, because people might now turn the arms on each other, might now start to use the arms for even ordinary disagreements and contentions that should be settled amicably and things like that. But let's not allow desperation to push us into worsening the situation. So let's take a deep breath. Let's give opportunity to those who are trained in firearms usage to begin to use these things to protect life and property. But I can understand the frustration of the people. I mean, there seems to be a failure of the security architecture to protect lives and property. So what else can people do except self-determination to now begin to say, if they can't protect us, we have to find ways to protect ourselves.
But do you think the likes of Amotekun and Agudi worked enough for Nigerians to actually trust them?
Amotekun is doing wonders, especially like in those states, maybe because the late governor Tinubu was the arrowhead of starting Amotekun. But Amotekun in those states is really very active and is bringing results. And I've seen other reports of Amotekun in other areas, and even like the Hisba police in the north, and some of these vigilante groups or paramilitary groups who are actually having an impact. If you think about it, how much have you heard of farmer-herder clashes recently? How much have you heard of cow herders destroying farms and the cows destroying the farms and eating crops? The incident seems to have reduced quite a lot lately. I don't know if it's because media is not reporting it anymore, because now all of a sudden banditry and terrorism and those kind of things have overshadowed the cow herder crisis. But I truly believe that the incidence has reduced, and I think it is due to the pervasive assault by such vigilante forces like Amotekun, who are local and who understand the terrain and who are able to go into the forest and the bushes and keep the herders at bay and make sure there's peace between the herders and the farmers. So I would say that we have to start somewhere. And rather than starting with individuals bearing arms, I think we're better off with such organizations being trained to bear arms, because, like I said, there's oversight.
But now, talking about state police, there are so many times that even the police that are currently not on that state, you see them carrying armbags of politicians, and also, assisting and even celebrities whom they are not supposed to be protecting. Now, if power comes to the state in terms of handling the police, do you think they will be maintained well?
Well, there's opportunity, there's a great potential for abuse, without a doubt. But you don't, because of fears of excesses or fears of abuses, not do it. What you do is you put a structure in place.
But also election. Election is also one of the reasons why people are against state police in Nigeria. That the current party, the party in power, might actually abuse it.
You have to be alive to hold elections, and the way it's going, the federal central system of security is not working to protect lives. So what I'm saying is, you can't put the cart before the horse and start worrying about how will state police handle elections when you don't even know if you'll be alive to carry out the election. So the first thing to do is to revamp the security architecture. And studies have shown that the more localized a police force is, the more effective it is, based on intelligence, based on knowledge of the terrain, based on informants, based on familiarity. I'm not necessarily saying state police should be looked at in isolation. Maybe we should talk about restructuring the entire polity. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that field. But what I'm saying is, we can't allow fears of abuse to stop us from seeking better solutions to the problems that ail us right now, and security is a big problem. So if localizing law enforcement is going to bring better results, then all we have to do is sit down and structure it in such a way that we check the abuses. So a governor can use his state police to intimidate opponents at election. But we still have federal police that supersedes the state police. So if there's abuses, it's up to the media, it's up to civil society, it's up to the people to be watchdogs and to cry out whenever there are abuses, and there will always be redress. There's always the courts. Like I say, even if you have state police, there's a federal police that supersedes a state police. In the United States of America, for example, the FBI will come and arrest a local police person who has abused your human rights. If a local police from, say, Los Angeles or a local city in America profiles you racially and abuses your human rights and locks you up despite the fact that you didn't commit an offense, and you file a suit, the FBI can come and arrest that person, even as a policeman, because federal law supersedes state law. So what I'm saying is, state police will not be all powerful. They still have an authority that can keep them in check, or an authority that can call them up and call them to account if they abuse their powers.
All right, let's move away from that and discuss this one. The federal government on Monday announced that it was currently reviewing the implementation process for a cost-reflective electricity tariff, but stated that it will continue to subsidize power supply for vulnerable citizens in Nigeria. So what do you think about subsidy in electricity?
Well, that whole thing came up because there was a rumor that January 1, 2024, the electricity tariff was going up. And of course, that caused a whole lot of uproar, because in the condition we are in now, fuel is expensive, food is expensive, everything, and for electricity tariff to go up as well caused a major outcry. So of course the government had to come and address it, and the first thing they did was allay any concerns about any electricity tariff hike. Then I went to further state that in fact we're doing the opposite. Instead of increasing it, what we're actually doing is we're subsidizing it for the poorest Nigerians. Now, I don't know how that subsidizing it for the poorest Nigerians, I don't know how that exactly is going to work, because how it's working, because we all live among ourselves, both the elite, the poor, the middle class, the rich. We all live among ourselves. How can we identify which homes should get this subsidy? Is it from source, meaning that your bill when you recharge is less? Is it that they give you a voucher that you use to offset your bill? I don't know how it works really, and I don't know how it will work. But the government is saying that probably about slightly under 50% of the cost of electricity usage on a monthly basis, the government subsidizes it for the most vulnerable Nigerians. They've said that Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, who is in charge of determining what we pay, that until they are able to come with what they call a cost-reflective tariff. What that cost-reflective tariff means, what it really means is that if they compute all of what it takes to bring electricity into our homes, that is from the point that they generate, right, to the point that they transmit, to the point that they distribute. Because you see, the electricity chain is cumbersome and it is quite involved. So if they compute all of what it takes to bring electricity into our homes, that is from the point that they generate, to the point that they transmit, to the point that they distribute. Because you see, the electricity chain is cumbersome and it is quite involved. So if they compute all of what it takes to bring electricity into our homes, that is from the point that they generate, to the point that they transmit, to the point that they distribute. Because you see, the electricity We just come and we turn on our light and we assume, oh, okay, beautiful, we've got light. But we don't know what actually is involved in getting it into our homes. So there are a number of steps, and each of those steps cost quite a bit of money. So what government is saying is that if they are to compute what it costs to get that electricity into your home, and now create a tariff that is commensurate with the cost to deliver it, none of us can afford that electricity. It's just absolutely unaffordable. But to me, the solution is government needs to invest more in the electricity infrastructure. We need it's not just about refineries for fuel and then we give short shrift to the electricity sector, because power is critical for development, both business-wise and even human-wise. And so I think that there's been too low of investment in the electricity sector. The president said when he went to COP28 or I can't remember, COP whatever it was, that he signed an agreement with the German Chancellor to speed up the Siemens agreement. President Buhari's administration has signed an agreement with Siemens to come in and boost the number of megawatts we produce. They're supposed to build additional power plants. But that was in like 2018 or 2019. We signed the agreement. It's 2023. We haven't seen any additional power. So he says he signed an agreement that they should speed up the construction of this additional power supply, and he signed that agreement, and that we will begin to see the effects very soon. But we've been doing that for a long time. We've been hearing that since 1979. Is that we're working on it with FFO, direct investments, we're increasing the power supply, and we don't see it increasing. And of course, Nigerian population is increasing, which puts more pressure on the fact that we need more power with each passing day. But it seems to always be a catch-up thing, to where the more power demand we have, we are not meeting up with increasing the supply. So I think we should, if truthfully they are subsidizing the most vulnerable, we don't have a situation where they are substituting fuel subsidy for electricity subsidy, because we get a power is not sustainable anymore. So what we should look at is greater investment in the power sector, greater investment in the power sector to be able to begin to give Nigerians affordable electricity. And once we have seamless, uninterrupted power supply, our lives will change completely. I believe that that's the singular most obstructive dividend of democracy that is inhibiting progress, and that if we resolve the power issue, our lives will not change.
Yeah, I'm also in big support of it really changing. Now let's end this lighter note with Mr. and Mrs. And the first person speaking today is Mr. He says, each time I look at you, I congratulate myself for such a good catch. And Mrs. replied, who do you think you are? And this guy says, the charm.
The charm. Yeah, it's a good catch. Okay, it's the catch.
Yes,
more power to Mr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dayo, for joining us this morning.
Pleasure.
My name is Damola Okunshakin. Do well to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Have a lovely Tuesday.